Sam, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, thank you.
Fantastic. Hard one, straight off the bat. Favorite war movie of all time, and you can't say 1917.
I believe me, would not say my own movie. There's a movie called Come and See by Klima that I love, but I suppose it has to be Apocalypse Now. Probably. Certainly the one I've seen the most.
That's a fair answer. The first thing that came to my mind when I realised the level of technical stuff that had to go into this movie was the Starbucks cup from Game of Thrones.
Why did you think of that?
When something is this massive, when it's a huge undertaking, there's always the people who will focus on the one smiling guy from the Dunkirk trailer. Do you remember him?
I do.
Whereas there anything when you're going through a process of this size where you have to so many small things that you might have you have to keep an eye on.
Every day, absolutely. Yeah, you become obsessed about tiny details because they can derail things, And when you're locked into a single shot, there could be 10 minutes of movie that's unusable because of some small technical issue. So yeah, you do become a bit OCD about these things. But most directors will tell you they're fairly OCD to begin with, and control is what they do. So looking and scrutinizing and all those things. That's part of it.
Specifically for this as well, because it is so interestingly done. Like you have to have a hook, I think, for a war movie to stand out. Otherwise, you end up with something that people will just like, oh yeah, that was also there. And that's one of the reasons I think people will love 1917. But I also think audiences have become a bit more savvy of filmmaking. Like if as a camera goes by a tree or a rock, some audience members will be aware, like that's where the hidden edit went. But is there any special or specific technical things that were done that you think the audience might not pick up on? Something that was impressive that audiences would not be aware of?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think a lot of what's brilliant about some of the visual effects work from the guys who helped with this movie is so good you can't see it, which is kind of frustrating if you're a visual effects bod, isn't it? Because you want everyone to see your brilliant work. But the whole point about visual effects in this movie is that they should be invisible. A lot of it's not just blending shots together. It's also environmental work, set extensions, changes to things that make the thing feel like a unity, weather, skies, all sorts of things. So yeah, I mean, it's and one is aware that people, are very sophisticated in terms of the way they watch movies. On the other hand, I don't want, and neither did Roger Deakins, the cinematographer, you to think about what the camera's doing while, maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes you might be aware of it, but then hopefully you forget about it and you just watch the story, because frankly the story is much more interesting, and I don't want the camera to be the most interesting thing in the movie. And the camera doesn't do anything crazy. It doesn't go through keyholes and follow the path of a moving bullet or anything like that. It's there as a window into this world and to these characters, and that sometimes it's intimate, sometimes it's epic, but the movement of it is not designed to draw attention to itself. So in that regard, maybe the second or third time, if people are going to come back and watch it, that would be the time to try and study the how. But the thing I want people to think when they start watching the movie is the why. Is the emotional reality of it. Is the fact that yes, we've used all these contemporary techniques, cinematically and also in terms of surrounds and sound and music. It's not a dry historical recreation. It's a contemporary movie that should make you feel as if this war happened yesterday.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge recently said that she reckons Andrew Scott is the greatest actor of our generation, and as a fellow Irishman...
Is that what she said?
Well, we take a lot of pride whenever there's compliments dished our way. I was curious what your take on him is.
He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And he's so mercurial. And it's like watching, a kind of one of those... It's like he's playing great jazz, you know what I mean? It's like he's improvising around a theme. So he's saying the lines as written, but not in any way in the way you would necessarily expect it. And yet he somehow also observes the structure of the whole. I worked with him first on stage, and I've worked with him obviously on film as well before this. And he just gets better and better. That's the other thing. I mean, that when you get to a certain status, there's a temptation to do your thing, to do your shtick and to kind of repeat it in various... and he's always shifting, always changing. He's really a remarkable actor.
Fantastic. Sam, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir.
They're walking into a trap. Your orders are to deliver a message calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you don't, it will be a massacre.
Come on!
There is only one way this ends. Last man standing.
1917.